ป่ะ
ได้ยิน
เราเข้ารายการเองนะ
On ASEAN Business Report tonight, Myanmar Parliament rejected a proposal to limit foreign ownership of businesses in certain sectors to 49%, voting to confirm a limit of 80% set in January. The Thai baht still on a close watch as its value appreciated closer to 29 against the dollar. And Cyprus president held talks with the party leaders in search for a viable plan B after MPs rejected the terms of an EU bailout aimed at saving Cyprus from bankruptcy. Catch the latest on the economic beat within the region and stories from around the world with Juravi Kitisin and Pathom Sangwongwanit. This is ASEAN Business Report.
Good evening and welcome to ASEAN Business Report on a Wednesday night, March the 20th of 2013. Tonight you're with me, Juravi Kitisin.
I'm also with you, I'm Pathom Sangwongwanit. We'll start off today with the hotly debated topic, that is the strengthening of the Thai baht. The big issue for local markets this week has been the big and surprising move for the Thai baht as its values was moving rapidly around 29.15 to 29.25 against the US dollar. Bank of Thailand Governor Prasan Thairatwaragun noted that the central bank is not planning to hold a special meeting on the issue, but it is still closely monitoring baht movements. He noted that the country's economic strength is attracting inflows, though he has also admitted that recent baht appreciation has been too rapid. According to HSBC, the baht was volatile yesterday after breaking through the 29.50 support level early in the morning. The fall in the exchange rate led to the stop loss orders from big investors, further exacerbating the move. There also appeared to be limited action from authorities to halt the fall, and dollar to baht spent most of the day unsuccessfully trying to find a new footing. Meanwhile, with stronger than expected fund inflows recently and momentum likely to continue, Tisco has revised its baht to dollar exchange rate forecast to 29.20 from 30 at the end of 2013. Tisco said so far the BOT still lacks in using its traditional baht intervention to slow down the baht movement, but Tisco deems that the Thai central bank will choose to step up the traditional intervention rather than imposing capital control measures.
And earlier we have talked to a special an economist from Fitch Ratings regarding this matter, Kun Pathom, who is Andrew Kokuhon, the head of Asia Pacific Sovereign Rating of Fitch Ratings, and his assessment on the factors behind the baht appreciation and its impact.
The upgrade reflects two main factors, primarily. Firstly, Fitch's observation of the resilience of Thailand's economy in the face of some quite severe shocks, including the flooding and the impact from Japan's earthquake and tsunami. And secondly, Fitch's growing confidence in Thailand's basic political stability in light of developments since the new government took office nearly 2 years ago. Well, in terms of the appreciation of the Thai baht, I think our concern is rather that, in fact, the Thai economy may be growing a little quickly. We don't think that this is an imminent concern or something that constrained us from the upgrade, but The 6.4% growth in 2012 is probably, in our view, a little above what the economy can sustain. However, there was some slack to be used up after the flooding, but we don't think the economy can carry on growing at that kind of pace. One of the risk factors that we identify is if the economy appears to be if we ever get evidence that the economy is overheating, if inflation or trade deficit starts to pick up very strongly, and if the policy response is slow or weak, then those things could lead us to revise our view on Thailand. But I'd stress that's a kind of medium-term risk factor and not something we see as pressing at the moment. We see Thailand's economy growing about 5% this year, supported by strong domestic demand, fueled in turn partly by the government's fiscal policy. So investment on infrastructure and also some effect from the rise in the minimum wage. But we see that Thailand already has a quite high stock of bank credit relative to GDP. It's already quite a highly leveraged economy, and we expect credit growth to moderate this year. If credit growth accelerates, if monetary policy remains overly loose, if inflation picks up, and as I was saying, if we see other evidence of economic overheating, then that would potentially be negative, but we think that's not likely as reflected in our upgrade of the rating.
Now that we have already heard the opinion of an economist of Fitch Ratings, now let's hear the opinion of the Kasikorn Bank research team on this issue, Khun Jeremy. According to Kasikorn Bank research, there are good prospects of the Thai economic growth amid the excessive global liquidity, or QE. That is, the US and Japan have been pumping money into the financial system. From unconventional monetary policy in US and Japan, and attracting foreign investors into both the bond and stock markets for higher returns. So for example, Khun Jeremy, the positive carries higher interest rate in Thailand than in the US.
And continuing on that, the foreign capital inflows appears to be the main catalyst because for strengthening of the baht, where yesterday the baht touched 29.33 against the US dollar, which yesterday we thought that was the lowest level since July 1997. But today, if you checked with Bloomberg, according to Bloomberg, the Thai baht has touched the lowest at 29.09.
Right. And the Kasikorn Bank research expects the baht to gravitate toward 29.00 and 28.50 against the US dollar in the first and second half of this year, respectively, of course.
Right. And as you can see right now, as the US, the Thai baht against the US dollar is at 29.11, which was the figure as of 8:45 p.m. just recently. Now, with the Kasikorn Bank Research Center, Khun Pathom, it also gave us its assessment. Comparing the Thai baht and the yuan renminbi, both currencies that should be appreciating against the dollar based on historical views. But the decline against the dollar and the yuan is not fully determined by the market, as China's central bank still controls the volatility of its currency. So the extent of the baht appreciation is expected to be greater than that of the yuan, resulting in the yuan weakening against the baht more as well. Right. And currently on the screen, as you can see, the K Research also gave its prediction of the Thai baht against the US dollar, that it would stay in the range of 29 to 28.5 in the first or second half of 2013.
So we'll have to see about whether this forecast will be real or not, Khun Jeremy.
That's right. There is a lot of forecasts regarding this. But right now, turning our focus to another hot issue that is still to be monitored with Cyprus, as the Cyprus President Nikos Anastasiades held talks with party leaders in a frantic search for a viable Plan B after MPs have rejected the terms of an EU bailout aimed at saving Cyprus from bankruptcy. The emergency meeting at the presidential palace was also being attended by the central bank governor, Panicos Demetriades, and a member of the Troika of the European Union, European Central Bank, and International Monetary Fund. Under the bailout deal reached at the weekend, the Troika was to provide Cyprus with 10 billion euros or $13 billion on a condition that Nicosia raises another 5.8 billion euros. It called for a levy of up to 9.9% to be slapped on all Cyprus bank deposits, an unprecedented move that triggered outrage among savers and raised fears other financially crippled EU states like Italy and Spain could be next. The Cyprus government backtracked and yesterday dropped the proposed tax on savings below 20,000 euros while keeping it at 6.75% for deposits of 20 to 100,000 euros and 9.9% for those above 100,000. State television said one option being looked at to raise the 5.8 billion euros was the nationalization of the provident funds of state and semi-state institutions, which could raise around 3 billion euros. Another option was a shrinking of the banking sector, possibly merging the island's two biggest banks into one, so the amount of recapitalization needed would be lower. Cyprus's banks were left heavily exposed to the Greek debt crisis, and their failure would leave the country on the verge of bankruptcy and in danger of going into default. That in turn would put immense pressure on the euro and once again place the unity of the European Union in doubt. And with the Cyprus, let's go and have a look, Kun Pathom, as many might be wondering, why would the conditions from the IMF be taking the money from the depositors, from the bank accounts?
Right.
Well, one reason that was given by Barclays is that the market and commentators have been relatively enthusiastic is that Cypriot banking system is quite unique. Now, you have to listen carefully and follow our diagrams. Now, first we look at the structure of the deposit base. The proposed total size of the levy is 5.8 billion euros, combined with the size of the deposit base of 68 billion euros, and the various levy rates that have been mentioned in the press suggested that above 46% of the total deposit base is below 100,000 euro. Around 12% is 100 to 500,000 euro, leaving 43% above 500,000 euro. So the 46% is the majority, and that is the total deposit base of those with below 100,000 euro.
Right. Now, moving on, Kun Jervi, looking at the deposits below 100,000 euro, Barclays research assumes that the normal household deposit base is not too different in Cyprus than in the rest of Europe. So it estimates that 18 to 20 billion euros are from small deposits, for example, below 20,000 euro.
Right.
So compare that. The initial proposal, leaving these deposits untouched, would require levying 1.2 billion euros from the bigger depositor, Kun Jervi. For example, by pushing the 9.9 levy to around 14.5% on deposits above 500,000 euro. So, in other words, taxing the rich even more greater.
Right. So there is also, the Barclays said, thus there is a some probability of some flexibility in changing the structure of the levy to make it more differentiated in the initial proposal, leaving the deposits below 100,000 euro insured, where Barclays also believes that this is a stronger package ultimately being approved by the Cypriot parliament, and also reducing the probability of contagion spreading into other countries as well. So it's like minimizing the fear, if I may say, so that people don't,
Get panicked.
I know, and then have a bank runoff within that country.
So we have to wait and see whether the Cypriot parliament will agree to its bailout terms or not.
Well, it has already rejected, but what kind of compromise will they come up with? Well, Right now, we're going to move fast. We're just going to turn to another subject on Myanmar. Today, the Myanmar Parliament has rejected a proposal on its foreign direct investment law. We have this report for the insights.
November last year, Myanmar Parliament made a significant approval of the new foreign investment law, giving more benefits for foreign investors interested in investing in the country. But earlier this week, the Parliament has rejected the proposal to limit foreign ownership to 49% of businesses in some certain sectors.
What was the background of the stories and what are the sectors that this change will be applied to and how will this affect foreign investors? I will be speaking with Ms. Wee Kim Chia, Director and Foreign Consulting Attorney from Kelvin Shea Yangon on this update.
Yes, they have indeed confirmed the joint venture ratio of 80% to 20% instead. The foreign investment law rules and the MIC notification had already provided for a joint venture ratio of 80 to 20. Parliament at some point of time was looking at it to see whether it should be instead 49 to 51. But further to the recent decision by Parliament, basically they have confirmed what is in the rules that's issued by the Ministry of National Planning and Economic Development and the notification issued by the MIC. So we have a clarity of position as at 80 to 20.
What are some sectors that this rule will be applied to?
There is an entire list of activities which require a joint venture. There's a compulsory joint venture list in the MIC notification. There are about 42 items on the list, some of which would include matters such as production and distribution of confectionery, production and distribution of chemical products, large-scale mining, establishment of factories for fabrication of concrete products, iron beams, the real estate sector, such as establishment of sale and rental of apartments and condominiums, establishment, sale of office and commercial buildings, international and domestic air transport services, so and tourism. So this is just a sampling. There are altogether 42 items on that list.
And how will this affect the foreign investors? Will it affect the confidence of foreign investors?
Will it affect the foreign investor? If they are investing in this sector, then it will be necessary for them to have a joint venture partner participating in the project to the extent of 20%.
However, the question remains whether allowing foreign ownership for 80% will actually benefit Myanmar in the long run. On the way, Tami Sang from Myanmar in Focus Daily.
We are still on Myanmar as the Public Account Committee of the Upper House is urging Parliament to take action against tax evasion and delinquent payments by companies that won auctions for state assets in Myanmar's controversial privatization scheme. The scheme saw about 2/3 of the state's assets sold or leased to businesses, often those with close links to the previous military junta. The committee submitted a statement to Parliament last week, calling on it to investigate issues that were previously raised by members of the business community who have described the privatization scheme as corrupt. The Public Account Committee pointed out that business people with close relationships to the junta won auctions for state assets with bids that were often far below the value of the assets. 66% of state-owned property and enterprises has been privatized. The Privatization Commission and the Management Committee for State-Owned Property have sold or leased 2,257 state-owned properties and enterprises. It said the state has 1,175 left.
Taking a short break, but we'll be back with more regional updates as Myanmar is taking the opportunity of the fruits of reforms to boost trades with its neighbors, including Bangladesh.